Hello world, and welcome to my brand new channel for Dummies KH. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kevin, and I'm a senior at Penn State University studying information science and technology and security risk analysis. I know, it's a mouthful. Basically, computers, computer systems, and how to keep them safe and secure. So why am I here? What do I have to say that is of any importance to you? If you're new to IST, probably a fairly decent amount. If you're a tech professional who's been in the game for 45 years with 6 masters, a PhD, and a self-programmed bot that is currently working on solving world hunger, probably not much. Thanks for coming to the channel, but what I'll be focusing on is probably a bit below your pay grade. When I first started studying IST, I was a lost little freshman, to say the least. My high school never offered any sort of tech classes, so I had no previous experience or even understanding of very basic technological terms that would be thrown at me day one of my freshman IST seminar. It was pretty embarrassing, and I felt like a total idiot. If I can explain anything simply enough that someone like I was, with little to no technological understanding, can get it, I will consider this channel a success. So, without further ado, let's get into the topic of this video. If you've been reading the image on screen during the introduction, you can probably guess where this is going. I can think of no better topic to discuss that will show you guys a bit of what I'm all about while also allowing me to explain some very basic terminology than the new Xbox Series X. If you're a PlayStation user, sorry, I simply see you as a lesser being. So, all console war jokes aside, today I'll be reading through the specifications of the new Xbox Series X compared to the previous generation console, the Xbox One X. I'll give an explanation of what these specs actually mean and how you'll notice them when you're gaming. Basically, I want to take this list and make it understandable for someone who has no idea what most of these terms are. So, getting into the list, you can see that the Series X matches or outperforms the One X in every category, which is to be expected. Upgrades typically mean better performance, but what are these terms? We'll start with teraflops at the top. Flops stands for floating point operations per second, or more simply, calculations or instructions to be executed. The Series X is capable of performing 12 trillion flops or instructions per second, which is incredibly fast and double that of the One X. To match what a 12 teraflop system can do in 1 second, a human would have to do one calculation per second for 380,025 years. So, yeah, it's a really fast system. Now, on to CPU speed. CPU, Central Processing Unit. It's basically the engine of the console. And you can see the one in the Series X is much faster than the one in the One X. CPU speed has to do with how fast the system can process information it's given. Moving on to RAM, which stands for Random Access Memory. Data stored in RAM can be accessed almost instantly. So the more RAM you have, the more data that you can access instantly, which is always a good thing. Less load times. Moving on to hard drives, you can see that both consoles have the same amount of internal storage, 1 terabyte, which is good. But the main difference lies in the storage format of the two. The older One X has a hard disk drive, HDD, while the Series X has a solid state drive, SSD. SSDs are faster and more power efficient, while HDDs use spinning disks to read and write data. SSDs, on the other hand, have no moving parts. Data is read and written through integrated circuits, which is much faster than spinning disks. So, what does this mean? It means data can be read from an SSD faster than it could be on an HDD, which again decreases load times. You're sensing a pattern here. Now, on to FPS, frames per second. If you've ever learned about videos, you know that they're broken up into individual frames and pieced together to make a fluid, continuous moving picture or video. And the smoother it appears to run correlates with how many frames per second there are. The Series X can run games at double the FPS, which makes for a smoother feeling and looking game experience. Finally, we're on to resolution, which is how many pixels can be displayed on the screen. This category is also dependent on your video hardware, such as your TV or your monitor, because regardless of how many pixels can be displayed by the system, the appropriate TV or monitor is required in order to take advantage of these benefits. So you could have the Series X, which is compatible with up to 8K resolution, but if you're connecting it to a dinosaur of a TV, you're not going to notice those 8K uh, compatibilities. So you've probably heard of 4K resolution and how it corresponds with sharper images than past televisions. This is because there's more pixels, therefore more room for detail and clearer picture quality. The Series X is capable of 8K resolution, like I mentioned, which is just absolutely crazy. 8K is still a relatively new technology, so prices for TV and monitors of that quality that can be supported are still extremely expensive. Trust me, a 4K display will do you just fine. The rest of these categories are just standard to modern entertainment systems, and I don't think really need to be gone into much more detail for. Just know that this console can do a lot, and it can do it faster and smoother than any previous consoles that have been on the market. So, taking all this into consideration, is a console upgrade worth the price tag? If you're a hardcore gamer and speed is an absolute necessity to remain competitive, then yes, definitely. But maybe you haven't gotten around to getting a 4K display yet. Maybe you're a casual gamer who only logs on a few times a week just to blow off steam. The previous generation consoles will still get you where you need to go, but just understand that it will not be as fast, smooth, or clear than it is with the Xbox Series X. And if you have a PlayStation, again, I am very sorry for you. So I hope what I've talked about in this video has been at least somewhat helpful. When I first watched all of Microsoft's videos advertising the new consoles, I couldn't help but wonder how lost people who don't understand technological terms must have been. Everything sounds great, but actually knowing what it means can really make the difference in knowing whether or not this upgrade is something that you actually need. So I hope you've been able to at least get something out of this. I hope to see you again soon back on the channel, and so long.